Today we are going to be reading Famous Five on Treasure Island by Anne Blyton. So let's get started. Chapter 1, A Great Surprise. Mother, have you heard about our summer holidays yet? Said Julian at the breakfast table. Can we please go to Polsafe as usual? I'm afraid not, said his mother. They are all quite full up this year. The three children at breakfast table looked at one another in great disappointment. They did so love the house at Paulset. The beach was so lovely there too. And bathing was fine. And the bathing was fine. Cheer up, said Daddy. I dare say we'll find somewhere just as good for you. And anyway, Mother and I won't be able to go with you this year. Has Mother told you? No, said Anne. Oh, Mother, is it true? Can't you really come with us on our holidays? You, you always do. Well, this time Daddy wants me to go to Scotland with him, said Mother. By ourselves, and you are really getting big enough to look after yourselves now. We thought it would be rather fun for you to have a holiday on your own too. But now you can't go to Portsmouth. I don't really quite know where to send you. What about Quintin's? Suddenly said Daddy. Quentin was his brother, the children's uncle. They had only seen them once, and had been rather frightened of him. He was a very tall, frowning man, a clever scientist who spent all his time studying. He lived by the sea, but that was about all the children knew of him. Quentin, said her mother, pursing her lips. Whatever made you think of him? I shouldn't think he'd want the children messing about in his little house. Well, said Daddy. I had to see Quentin's wife in town the other day about a business matter. I don't think these things are going well for them. Fanny said that she would be quite glad if she could hear one or two people to live with her for a while to bring quite a little money in. Their house is by the sea, you know. It might be just the right thing for the children. Fanny is very nice. She would take care of them very well. Yes, she has a child of her own, too, said the children's mother. Uh, Yes, and she has a child of her own too, hasn't she? Said the children's mother. Let me see, what's her name? Something funny. Yes, Georgina. How old would she be? About 11, I should think. Same age as me, said Dick. Fancy having a cousin we've never seen. She must be jolly lonely all by herself. I've got Julian and Anne to play with, but Georgina is just one on her own. You know, I think she would be glad to see us. Well, your Aunt Fanny said that her Georgina would love a bit of company, said Daddy. You know, I really think that would solve our difficulty. If we telephone to Fanny and arrange it for the children to go there. Fanny and arrange for the children to go there. It will help Fanny, and I'm sure Aunt Georgina would love to have someone to play with in the holidays. And she would know that and we would know that our three were safe. The children began to feel rather excited. I wish sorry, it would be fun to go to a place they had never been before and stay with an unknown cousin. There cliffs and rocks and sand there? Asked Anne. Is it a nice place? I don't remember very well, said Daddy, but I feel sure it's an exciting kind of place. Anyway, you'll love it. It's called Kieran Bay. Your Aunt Fanny has lived there all her life and wouldn't leave it for nothing. Oh, Daddy, do telephone Aunt Fanny and ask if we can go there, said Dick. I just feel it's the right place somehow. It sounds sort of adventurous. Oh, you always say that wherever you go, said Daddy with a laugh. All right, all right. Uh, all right, all right. I'll ring up now and see if there's any chance. They all insisted their breakfast. They all finished their breakfast. Sorry, my. They all finished their breakfast and they got up to wait for Daddy to telephone. He went out into the hall and they heard him putting a call through. It's I hope it's right for us, said Julian. I wonder what Georgina's like. Funny name, isn't it? More like a boy's than a girl's. So she's 11, a year younger than I am, same age as you, Dick, and a year older than you, Anne. She thought she ought to fit in with us. She's ought to fit in with us, all right. The four of us ought to have a nice time together. Daddy came back in about 10 minutes. Your Aunt Fanny is delighted about it. She says it will be awfully good for Georgina to have company because she's such a lonely little girl, always going off by herself. And she will love looking after you all. Only you'll have to be careful not to disturb Uncle Quentin. He is working very hard and he isn't very good tempered when he's disturbed. We'll be as quiet as a mouse in the house, said Dick. Honestly, we will. Oh, goody goody. When are we going, Daddy? When are we going, Daddy? Next week, if Mother can manage it, said Daddy. Mother nodded her head. Yes, she said. There's nothing much to get them ready for them. Just bathing suits, jerseys, and shorts. They all wear the same. How lovely it would be to wear shorts or a bathing suit and go bathing and climbing with the boys. We'll soon be doing it. Well, you'll soon be doing it, said Mother with a laugh. Remember to put any toys or books you want. Sorry. Remember to put ready any toys or books you want, won't you? Won't you? Not many, please, because there won't be a great deal of room. Anne wanted all her 15 dolls with her last year, said Dick. Do you remember, Anne? Oh, weren't you funny? No, I wasn't, said Anne. I love my dolls and I just couldn't choose which to take, so I thought I'd take them all. There's nothing funny about that. And do you remember the year before Anne wanted to take the rocking horse, said Dick with a giggle. Mother chimed in. You know, I remember a little boy called Dick who put aside two gollywogs, one teddy bear, and 3 toy dogs, 2 toy cats, and his old monkey to take down halted 1 year, she said. Then it was Dick's turn to turn red. He changed the subject at once. Daddy, are we going by train or by car? He said. By car, said Daddy. We can pile everything into the boot. Well, what about Tuesday? That would suit me well, said Mother. Then we could take the children down, come back and do our packing at leisure, and start off for Scotland on Friday. Yes, we'll arrange for Tuesday. So Tuesday it was. The children counted the days eagerly, and Anne marked one of the calendar each night. The week seemed a very long time going, but at last Tuesday did come. Dick and Julian, who shared a room, woke up at about the same moment and stared out the nearby window. It's a lovely day, hurrah! Cried Julian, leaping out of bed. I don't know why, but it always seems very important that it should be sunny on the first day of a holiday. Let's wake Anne. Anne slept in the next room. Julian ran and shook her. Wake up! It's Tuesday and the sun is shining. Anne woke up with a jump and stared at Julian joyfully. It has come at last, she said. They started soon after breakfast. Their car was a big one, so it held them all very, very comfortably. Mother sat in front with Daddy, and the three children sat behind their feet. Their feet on two suitcases. In the luggage place at the back of the car were all odds and ends. One small trunk. Mother really thought they had remembered everything. Along the crowded London roads they went, slowly at first, and then they left the town behind more quickly. Soon they were right into the open country. And the cart sped along as the children sang songs to themselves, as they always did when they were happy. Are we picnicking soon? Asked Anne, feeling hungry all of a sudden. Yes, but not yet. It's only 11 o'clock. We shan't have lunch till 12:30, Anne. Oh, gracious, said Anne. I know I can't last out till then. So Mother handed some chocolate, and she and the boys munched happily, watching the hills, woods, and fields as the car sped by. As the car sped by. Sorry for the delay. So, where were we? Ah, yes. We must watch out for the sea, said Dick. I can smell it somewhere near. He was right. The car suddenly topped a hill, and there was the shining blue, calm and smooth in, in the evening sun. Shining blue sea, calm and smooth in the evening sun. The three children gave a yell. There it is! Isn't it marvelous? Oh, I want to bathe this very minute. We shan't be more than 20 minutes before we get to Kieran Bay, said Daddy. We've made a good time. You'll see the bay soon. It's quite a big one, with a funny sort of island at the entrance of the bay. The children looked out as they drove along the coast. Then Julian gave a shout. There it is! There it is! That must be Kieran Bay! Look, Dick! Isn't it lovely and blue? And look at the rocks! And look at the rocky little island guarding the entrance of the bay, said Dick. I'd like to visit that. Well, I've no doubt you will, said Mother. Now let's look out for Aunt Fanny's house. It's called Kieran Cottage. They soon came to it. It stood on the low cliff overlooking the bay, and it was a very old house indeed. It wasn't really a cottage, but quite a big house, built of old white stone. Roses climbed over the front of it, and the garden was gay with flowers. If you know what the meaning of the garden was gay with flowers means, please write it down in the comments, because I do not. Here's Kieran Cottage, said Daddy, and he stopped the car in front of it. It's supposed to be about 300 years old now. Now, where's Quentin? Hello, there's Fanny. Chapter 2, The Strange Cousin. The children's aunt had been watching for the car. She came running out of the old wooden door as soon as she saw it draw up. The children looked at her at once. Oh, the children liked the look of her at once. I'm sorry, I'm a little bad in reading books. There were kisses all around. And then the children went into the house. They liked it. It felt old and rather mysterious somehow. And the furniture was old. Sorry. The furniture was old and very beautiful. Where's Georgina? Asked Anne, looking around for her unknown cousin. Oh, that naughty girl. I told her to wait in the garden for you, said Aunt. Now she's gone off somewhere. I must tell you, children, you may find George a bit difficult at first. She's always been on her own, you know. And at first may not like you being here. But you mustn't take any notice of that. She'll be all right in short time. I was very glad for George's sake that you were able to come. She badly needs other children to play with. Do you call her George? Asked Anne in surprise. And I thought her name was Georgina. So it is, said her aunt, but George hates being a girl, and we have to call her George, as if she were a boy. That naughty little girl won't answer if you call her Georgina. But the children thought that Georgina sounded rather exciting. They wished she could come, but she didn't. Their Uncle Quentin suddenly appeared instead. He was a most extraordinary looking man, very tall, very dark, with a rather fierce frown on his wide forehead. Hello, Quentin, said Daddy. It's a long time since I've seen you. I hope these three won't disturb you much in your work. Quentin is working on a very difficult book, said Aunt Fanny. But I've given him a room all to himself on the other side of the house, so I don't expect he will be disturbed. Their uncle looked at the three children and nodded to them. The frown didn't come off his face, and they all felt a little scared, and they were glad he was to work in another part of a house. Where's George? He said in a deep voice. Gone off somewhere, said Aunt Fanny, vexed. I told her she was to stay here and meet her cousins. She went spanking, said Uncle Quentin. The children couldn't quite make out whether he was joking or not. Well, children, I hope you have a good time here, and maybe you will knock a little common sense into George. There was no room at Kitten Cottage for Mother and Daddy to stay the night. So after a hurried supper, they left to stay at a hotel in the nearest town. They would drive back to London immediately after breakfast the next day. So they said goodbye to the children that night. Georgina still hadn't appeared. I'm sorry you haven't seen Georgina, said Mother. Just give her our love, and I'll tell her that we hope she'll enjoy play. Just give her our love and tell her we hope she'll enjoy with Dick, Julie, and Anne. Then Mother and Daddy went. The children felt a bit lonely as they saw the big car disappear round the corner of the road, but Aunt Fanny took them upstairs to show them their bedrooms, and they soon forgot to be sad. The two boys were to sleep together in a room with slanting ceilings at the top of the house. It had a marvelous view of the bay. Sorry. I do wish George would come, Anne said to her aunt. I want to see what she's like. Well, she's a funny girl, said her aunt. She can be very rude and haughty, but she is kind at heart, very loyal and absolutely truthful. Once she makes friends with you, once she makes friends with you, she'll be able to be your best friend, but she finds it very difficult indeed to make friends. What a great pity. And suddenly yawned at the boys. The boys frowned at her because they knew that would happen next. And it did. Poor Anne, how tired you are. You must all go to bed straight away. Have a good night. Then I'll wake you up quite fresh the next morning, tomorrow, said Aunt Fanny. Anne, you are an idiot. So, where was I? One second. I wonder where Georgina is, said Anne, when she said goodnight to the boys and went to her own room. Isn't she queer, not waiting to welcome us and not coming in to supper, not even in yet. After all, she's sleeping in my room. Goodness knows what time she'll be in. All the three children were fast asleep before Georgina came up to bed. They didn't hear her open Anne's door. They didn't hear her get undressed and clean her teeth. They didn't hear the creak of her bed as she got into it. They were so tired that they heard nothing at all until the sun awoke them in the morning. When Anne awoke, she couldn't at first think where she was. She lay in her little bed and looked up to the slant ceiling and the red roses that nodded open the window, and suddenly remembered all in a rush where she was. I'm at Kieran Bay, and it's the holidays, she said to herself, and screwed up her legs with joy. Then she looked across the other bed. In it lay a figure of another child, curled up under the bedclothes. Anne could just see the top of a curly head, and that was all. When the figure stirred a little, Anne spoke. I say, are you Georgina? The child in the opposite bed sat up and looked across at Anne. She had very short curly hair, almost as short as boys. Her face was burnt a dark brown with the sun, and her very blue eyes looked as bright as forget-me-nots in her face. But her mouth was rather sulky, and she had a frown like her father's. No, she said, I'm not Georgina. Oh, said Anne, surprised. Then who are you? I'm George, said the girl. I shall only answer if you call me George. I hate being a girl. I won't be. I do not like doing things that girls do. I like doing things that boys do. I can climb better than any boy. I can swim faster than two. I can sail a boat as well as any fisher boy on this coast. You're to call me George. Then I'll speak to you. But I shan't if you don't. Oh, said Anne, thinking of her new cousin thinking that her new cousin was most extraordinary. All right, I don't care what I call you. George is a nice name. I think I don't much like Georgina. Anyway, you look like a boy. Do I really? Said George, the frown leaving her face for a moment. Mother was awfully cross with me when I cut my hair short. I had hair all around my neck. It was awful. The two girls stared at one another for a moment. Don't you simply hate being a girl? Asked George. No, of course not. No, of course not. You see, I do like pretty frocks and I love my dolls, and you can't do that if you're a boy. Pooh! Fancy bothering about pretty frocks, said George. in a scornful voice. And dolls, well, you are a baby, that's all I can say. Anne felt offended. You're not very polite, she said. You won't find that my brothers take much notice of you. Take much notice of you? If you act as if you knew everything. They're real boys and not pretend boys like you. Well, if they're going to be nasty to me, I shan't take any notice of them, said George, jumping out of bed. I didn't want any of you to come. Interfering with my life here. I'm quite happy on my own. Now I've got to put up with a silly girl who likes frocks and dolls and has two stupid boy cousins. Anne felt that they had made a very bad beginning. She said no more, but got dressed herself too. She put on a grey jeans and red jersey. George put on a jeans too and a boy's jersey. They were just as they were ready, the boys hammered to their door. Aren't you ready? Is Georgina there? Cousin Georgina, come out and see us. George flung open the door and marched out with her head high. She took no notice of the two surprised boys at all. She stalked downstairs. The other three children looked at one another. She won't answer if you call her Georgina, explained Anne. She's awfully queer, I think. She says she doesn't want us to come because we'll interfere with her. She laughed at me and was rather rude. Julian put his arm around Anne, who looked a bit doleful. Cheer up, he said. You've got us to stick up for you. Come on down to breakfast. They were all hungry. The smell of fresh bacon and eggs was very good. They ran down the stairs and said good morning to their aunts. She was bringing the breakfast to the table. Their uncle was sitting at the head reading his paper. He nodded at the children, and they sat down without a word, wondering if they were allowed to speak at meals. They always were at home, but Uncle Quentin looked rather fierce. George was buttering a piece of toast. She scowled at the three children. Don't look like that, George, said her mother. I hope you've made friends already. It will be fun for you to play together. You must take your cousins to see the bay this morning and show them the best places to bathe. I'm going fishing. I'm going fishing, said George. Her father looked up at once. You are not, he said. You are going to show a few good manners for a change and take your cousins to the bay. Do you hear me? Yes, said George with a scowl exactly like her father's. Oh, we can go to the bay by ourselves if it's all right with George. Ourselves all right if George is going fishing, said Anne, at once thinking it would be nice not to have George if she was in a bad temper. George will do exactly as she is told, said father. If she doesn't, I shall deal with her. So after breakfast, the four children got ready to go down to the beach. An easy path led to the bay as they ran down happily. Even George lost her frown as she felt the warmth of the sun and she dancing sparkles of the blue sea. You go fishing if you want to, said Anne, and they were down on the beach. We won't tell tales on you, and we won't interfere with you, you know. We've got ourselves for company, and if you don't want to be with us, you needn't. But we'd like you all the same if you'd like to be with us, said Julian generously. He thought George was rude and ill-mannered, but he couldn't help rather liking the look of the straight-backed, short-haired little girl with her brilliant blue eyes and sulky mouth. George stared at him. "I'll see," she said. "I don't make friends with people just because they're my cousins or something silly like that. I only make friends with people I like them. So do we," said Julian, "and we may not like you, of course." "Oh," said George, "If is that," as if that thought hadn't occurred to her. "Well, you may not, of course. Lots of people don't like me. Now I come to think of it." Anne was staring over the bluebird sea at the entrance of Lake Curious Rocky Island with that looked like our castle on top of it. "Isn't that a funny place? I wonder. It's called Kieran Island," said George, as her eyes as blue as the sea. She turned to look at it. "It's a lovely place to go to. It's a lovely place to go to. If I like you, I may take you there some day, but I don't promise. The only way to get there is by boat." Who does the funny island belong to?" asked Julia. George made a most surprising answer. "It belongs to me," he said. "At least it will belong to me someday. My very own island and my very own castle." Okay, so we are done with the 2 chapters. See you in the next video.